Welcome to Watertown Sports Talk, everyone. I'm Dick Najarian. If you've lived in Watertown for any length of time and have an interest in sports, you'll certainly know my guest. And if you haven't lived in Watertown a long time, you'll get to know him today. For those who may not know Bob Cappadonna, let me briefly tell you about him. Bob was an outstanding athlete at Watertown High School, winning the state scoring title with 160 points in 1915.
Thank you.
Thank you. He wanted me to do that. He's probably the greatest football player in the history of Watertown High School. Now, some folks would debate it, but I would not. Absolutely. He went on to Notre Dame, played football, also boxed, was a boxing champion at Notre Dame.
Yes.
Am I correct?
That's correct.
That's correct. Bob then transferred to Northeastern University, where he was one of the top running backs in the country. I said country, folks, not in the East, in the United States. From there, he went on to play professional football for the then Boston Patriots, for the Buffalo Bills, and the Washington Redskins. Am I correct?
Short trip.
Well, whatever. He did. He's also a member of several Halls of Fame, Watertown Hall of Fame, Northeastern, and others probably. And he's presently the owner of Cappadonna Insurance Agency right here in Watertown. He's one of Watertown's true athletic legends. This is what he wanted me to say. So we want to welcome Bob. Bobby, Watertown Sports Talk.
Thank you.
For being
Thank
here.
you. Thank you for inviting me. And thank you for the fine promo. You got it right on cue.
It's all true. It's all true.
Yeah.
All right, Bob, let's begin by telling the viewers, generally how you got interested in football as a young man, and then your college career, your professional career. Just talk a little bit about how you move from one to the other and your interest level.
Well, let's go back. We were talking a lot of years ago, and thank you for pointing that out. But I played baseball, and we didn't have Pop Warner football back then. And when it came up to the 9th grade, it was the freshman football team, and I wanted to go for football. And I had a big argument with God rest my father's soul, my father. And he said that you're not going to play football. And at that time, there wasn't a lot of pro teams, but I idolized a guy that played with the Cleveland Browns, Jimmy Brown.
Jimmy Brown, the best.
I still feel he's the best running back that I've ever seen.
Absolutely.
So anyway, I had a long discussion with my father, and he said, I'm not going to let you play. And I said, well, if I don't play football, I'm not going to play baseball. And he wanted me to be a baseball player. So anyway, my mother intervened and finally gave me the okay, and I started playing freshman football. And I must tell you, it was something, I think it happens to a person, it's a sport that I fell in love with. And I played baseball and I played basketball, as you know.
I do.
People don't know that you were my coach in basketball. Wow. And some people point out that's the reason why I retired.
We don't need to talk about that.
Yeah, we'll skip that. But anyway, so I played basketball and I ran track and was comfortable in those sports. But I really had a passion for football. And then we were blessed with, we had a great team. We had a lot of talent. We had some fine coaches. And like I said, I guess the rest is history. I
you did very well in high school, obviously. I said you won the scoring title. Today, I think they score a few more points.
Yeah, today they're up. They got 160 in about 5 games.
I know.
It was something at the time.
Oh, absolutely, it was a big deal.
It was something I'm very proud of, and something the team should be proud of, because obviously without them,
you can't do it alone.
Yeah.
And so, talk about the transition then to college, if you will. Were you sincerely interested in going to college to play football, and were you looking beyond that at the time?
Well, back then, I think, football, and that's why I say football to me, when people say, well, football is your life, football was really my life. Football opened more doors for me than I can ever imagine.
Sure.
And I'm not sure if it wasn't for football, if I would have been able to go on to college. My parents obviously couldn't afford to send me, and academically, I'm not sure I could have got into a lot of the schools that I would like to get into. So football opened a lot of doors. And I was, again, we played on a great football team, and I was lucky enough to get a lot of press and media, and was recruited. And when Notre Dame approached me, I've always thought of Notre Dame as the football place.
That was the
That's
pinnacle,
where
right?
if you want to try the best,
Yeah, there it is.
you could go to another school, but
Sure.
if you want to test your talents and really get a feel for how good you are,
Yeah.
then you
Go
should
there.
go for the best.
Yeah,
and,
absolutely.
And so I said, well, then Notre Dame is the place where I want to be. And I went out there, and we had the team that we had. We were loaded with players.
Who was your coach, your head coach at that time?
Joe Q. Harrick was the head
Oh, yeah.
coach, and
Yeah,
he had coached the Eagles
Right, right.
prior to that.
Yeah, I remember.
And but I'll tell you a little side story is that when you go into the locker room, when you first report, first when you walk on the campus, I don't know if you've ever been out there.
I haven't. I've seen pictures and film of it, but I haven't been there, Bob.
You watch all the films of it, but there is this kind of a feeling when you walk on that campus
Yeah.
because of the history of the place, of the
absolutely.
Rockney and the Four Horsemen. So when I report it, you kind of look around and you're in awe, and so
Absolutely.
then you walk into and you see a statue of Rockney and you see the Four Horsemen, and it's kind of overwhelming.
That's big time stuff.
That's big. It is big.
It
time.
is big
It
time.
is big time. So when we check in, the first practice, you sit down and the coach says, "I would like." Hugh DeVore was the freshman coach, and he later coached at Nebraska.
Yep.
So coach would say, "Okay, I want everybody to stand up and to give you a little background, almost like you just said to us." And so guys are getting up and they're saying, "Well, I'm Jack Snow, all city, all conference, all California, all America." The next guy gets up, Jim Carroll from Atlanta, Georgia. I'm all Georgia, all state, all American. I would tell you that out of 30 guys, I would say there was probably 23, 24 high school All-Americans.
Imagine.
So when you stand up and you think you've accomplished something and you hear the credentials of some of these other players, so you're at the right. Again, if for competing, you're at the right place.
Sure,
You've got the
You got to show what you got if you're going to play there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I was, and thank goodness I was a high school All-American. So I wasn't. There was only 2 or 3, like I said, which was amazing to me.
Yeah, amazing stuff.
A lot of talent, and that team. I left Notre Dame, and that team went on to win the national title. And when Arap Hashikian came in and coached.
Yeah. Well, was as you look back, do you think that was something you would have thought about doing over, staying? Or?
Academically, and again, I think things are different now. I think that they offer more of the tutoring and
Absolutely,
and
they do.
They police a little bit better because everybody's telling they should do that, and that's the right thing to do. Hindsight, I don't know. I mean,
Well,
I went on to
those
Northeastern.
things,
I was very successful there, and happy I went there. But sometimes I second guess, as you do.
Well, in life, don't we all do that on occasion?
Yeah.
We all do that. But Bob, you make the best choice you can at that time.
Yeah, exactly.
And if it turns out great, it does. If it doesn't, well, you still made the best choice you could have made at that time.
That's correct.
And that's, I think, how you have to live it.
Yeah.
And then you went on to Northeast, and of course you played there for 3 or 4 years. Did you go? How many years did you play at Northeast?
I played 3 seasons.
3 seasons.
I was ineligible in my first season.
Yeah,
so.
because of a transfer, right? All right. Now tell us about professional. Like, who drafted you first, and how did that go, and what happened?
I was drafted because I went to Notre Dame for a year.
Right.
So I was drafted really as a junior. I was drafted as a future pick, which I'm not even sure they do that any longer because of the.
I only
merger.
remember Larry Bird being drafted as a junior by the Celtics.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. Yeah.
Okay, so I was drafted as my graduating class would have been 65.
Yeah.
But I was graduated as my junior year in college,
right.
and I was drafted by the Patriots and the San Francisco 49ers. And then when the senior year came and I was ready to go, then I kind of weighed everything and felt that New England or the old Boston Patriots was the best opportunity for me at the time.
Yeah, and, well, you were well known in this area.
Yeah, and plus the running backs. I mean, Jim Nance. Jim Nance was out of Syracuse the year before.
Yep.
And Jimmy really had a mediocre year.
Yeah.
I think he needed a year to find himself.
But overall, he was a pretty good running back.
He was a great running back. I mean, he came in the year I came in as a rookie. He set the rushing record.
Yeah, imagine.
So.
So how many years did you play for the Patriots, and then what happened from that point, Bob?
I played with the Patriots for 2 years, and I asked to be traded only because, like I said, Jimmy had just set, in his second year, he set the AFL rushing record.
Yeah.
And the third season, he was up to like 1,400 yards, and
Yeah.
there's just no way you're going to
not gonna
knock a
play
player.
much, yeah.
I mean, and you know what? You strive your whole life to play.
Sure.
And people say, oh, well, you could have stayed as a backup and played there for 4, 5, 6, 8 years. Well, that's not what I'm.
Well, but you're not that kind of guy.
No.
You want to play.
I want to test myself.
want to be
I
in
want to
there.
find
Right.
out
Yeah.
what I had.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and so I asked to be traded, and thankfully they did. And but I tell you how time and impact and changes. I asked to be traded. I got traded to the Bills.
Yeah.
7 days after I left, Jimmy Nance got hurt.
Yeah.
And you know, you say you don't wish for a player.
No.
And I would say,
It's
well,
just
what do you
fate,
feel?
One of those
Yeah,
crazy
yeah.
things in life, Bob, that has no explanation.
Yeah.
You know, obviously, if you knew that, you might have hung around and said, well, maybe he'll get hurt. I'll
Yeah,
hang around
yeah,
another month.
yeah.
Or
But then
whatever.
you say, people say, well, you wait around for a guy to get hurt. Well,
No, you don't,
You wait for
but-
an opportunity.
Yeah, that's all. Yeah.
And so that's what happened. I was traded, and I went up to Buffalo, and they were in turmoil up there. Actually, it was really not.
They've been in turmoil, it seems, excuse me for interrupting, for many years. Buffalo, you know, they win,
They've gone through some
they,
tough times.
They rebuild, they can't win, they
Yeah.
rebuild. It just seems, even talking present day.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm sorry.
They had the heyday. Well, they had the heyday when,
No,
when
they did
Kelly
with
was
Kelly,
there.
yeah, absolutely.
And,
So you played Buffalo for
Yeah.
a while?
I played in Buffalo, and then and we don't want to bore everybody, but then I got hung up with.
No, I want you to tell the story.
We got hung up with contracts and negotiation. That we were fighting the reserve clause with the NFL, and I had filed suit saying, what happened? I got cut from Buffalo, and I was home here in Watertown, and I was saying, well, you know, and this, what am I doing? So
But you're still a young guy at that time.
Oh yeah, and I still want to play, but
Sure.
the thing is, I haven't had the chance.
Yeah.
You know, it's one thing, I guess, Dick, if you know, if you get in and play and you can't perform, then you say, you know what, I went as high as I went where my ability
Right.
took me, and that's it.
You recognize
I
it.
wasn't convinced that I still couldn't play in the National Football League.
Sure.
And every time I went to practice, and every player I watched, and every game I watched, I said, hey, I can compete
do that.
with who's there.
Yeah.
And that's not sounding conceited. I just
No,
what
it's
you
a fact,
feel.
reality.
Yeah,
That's your confidence.
exactly.
Sure.
So anyway, I left Buffalo, and I got home, and I said, where am I going to go? So I started to study all the rosters of the NFL. And I said, where is a place where they need running backs?
Yeah,
and
they have
where-
a shot.
Yeah, I need to hook up.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm looking at the Washington Redskins, and they had a big back, Ray McDonald, who was okay, but there were talks of him leaving, and I said they really didn't have anybody. They drafted this kid Larry Brown, which turned out to be a great player, but he was at a halfback position, and they got a new coach in Vince Lombardi, and I said, you know what? I've heard nothing but positive things about Lombardi. That there wasn't a question of nationality or where you came from or what school you came from, that if you could play the game,
You played.
You played.
Yeah,
And if you felt you could help the team,
Yeah,
you did.
yeah, exactly.
So what I did is I found out where they were practicing. They were practicing in Carlisle, Pennsylvania. And I booked a flight for Carlisle.
You guys hearing all this story out there? You never knew this.
Yeah.
Very, very interesting.
Not many people know this.
Well, tell us only what you want to
I'm
tell
airing
us,
the
Bob.
laundry here.
It's just, no, you tell us what you're comfortable
So I'm
telling
comfortable
us.
talking to you. I feel like I'm talking to you, and that's so it's bad.
Well-
but not a bad thing. But you know,
Yeah, I understand.
But anyway, so
So you're in Pennsylvania.
I hopped on a plane, went down to Carlisle, Pennsylvania, and I walked into their office, and the secretary said, you know, can I help you? And I told her.
Yeah, who are you?
I said, I'm Bob Cappadonna, and I said, you don't know me, I said, but I was just cut from the Buffalo Bills,
Yeah.
and I'd like an opportunity to try out. And she just kind of
Like,
laughed and said,
who's
you know,
this guy?
exactly. Say that again.
Yeah, I
You know?
know.
So anyway, she said, we're all taken. I said, well, you know, in all due respect, I said, I'd like to talk to a coach.
So you did this without calling anybody.
Nobody knew I was there.
You just did it on your own.
I think 3 people knew. I think my